What's going on? Happy Tuesday to you. You know what night it is. It is our Cards and Cake special. I got cards, and check this out. I got cake too. And not only that, I got 3 special guests, and this is our NFL kickoff special. So I'm very excited to bring on 3 experienced football analysts, however you want to call them. They are Dustin, Boris, and Andy from the Hobby Box, Personal Finance Dad, and Fantasy Football Card Quest. And the reason I'm really excited is because now I get to redirect questions their way and actually eat my cake. So without further ado, let's bring these guys on. There we go. Let me unmute y'all. I feel like Tony Reale on Around the Horn. What's going on, Andy, Dustin, and Boris? Welcome to Cards and Cake. We got people on here hopping on already, and this is going to be a football special. So I know we got NHL playoffs. I'm very excited about that. We got NBA playoffs, a lot of upsets happening, but we got football finally returning after all this time. So before we dive in, I want to say hi to all you guys over there, Wandering Asian, Tao, Card Currency, Mike C, and more will hop on. But why don't you guys just introduce yourself first? So, and just give a little context as to your background in football. So, Andy, why don't you start first?
What's up, guys? I didn't know weren't supposed to start eating our dessert already.
I'm starting right now.
Yeah, I'm Andy with the Fantasy Football Card Quest. I talk everything football cards. Longtime fantasy footballer. NFL has been my favorite sport besides golf since I was a kid, and quit playing Little League baseball. And here I am.
And that this is the most exciting time to be a Bucks fan. And 3 of us are from Tampa. The 4th has ties to Tampa. So, Boris, why don't you go next?
Dig in.
Yeah, my name's Boris. My channel, the Hobby Box. I mostly cover basketball on my channel. That's kind of where I tend to on the basketball for as far as cards go. But yeah, I've been playing fantasy football for a long time. Love fantasy football and really follow fantasy pretty closely. So yeah.
What about you, Dustin? You're the only one that's not within like a 5-mile radius of us.
I know, but I used to live in Tampa. I actually graduated from Land O'Lakes High School, so I know the area. I was talking to Boris about that when I was on a show last time, but yeah. So I'm Dustin. I run the Personal Finance Dad YouTube show channel. I've been in fantasy football for a long time, and I've been a New Orleans Saints fan for 30 plus years, going back to the 80s. So
okay, I'm going to mute you right now. There you go.
Okay, yeah. And that's where I get kicked off the show.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dustin. We have no more time for you.
Anyway, yeah, it's going to be 3 of us. No, but yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't hung out with 3 Bucks fans in a while. So yeah, this will be interesting. I'll try to keep it clean. You know, it's Bucks week too. So we got a lot of emotions, a lot of drama. We got a game on Sunday at 4. I'm going to be probably a psychopath. I don't know if I'm going to go to a sports bar with a mask on, the face suit on, or if I'm going to try to watch it from home. But I'm excited for the season.
Dude, there's so much hype around football season, especially Tampa and honestly New Orleans as well. Because even if you don't have the same additions Tampa has, the expectations are through the roof in New Orleans. And of course, both of our quarterbacks are on their last leg of their careers. Yeah. But let's start with the card side of it. Because, I mean, so much has evolved since even March when I got in February. And even football cards, everyone was saying, just quarterbacks, just the main quarterbacks, just this. So I want to ask you guys one by one, what has been your strategy or just overall mindset around football cards when you started? And then what is it now that you're more experienced, whether that's just 6 months, a year, or however long? So whoever wants to start first, what did it start at? And then where are you now with kickoff starting in just a couple days? Andy, you just go first.
Yeah, when I got in back in the end of March, it started with a lot of diversification. I mean, I did buy my very first football card was a Patrick Mahomes rookie, but a rated rookie, but I sold it 10 days later, doubled my money, jumped on the Last Dance hype train, bought a bunch of different Steve Nash, Reggie Miller, all kinds of different basketball players, but I didn't really have a lot of enjoyment, and I didn't have the knowledge in the basketball cards to really make educated decisions on what cards to buy, this and that. So, in talking with Brad, I really wanted to get into what I was passionate about, and that's football. So I started, it was almost like manifest destiny. I'm really passionate about fantasy football. I was starting to prepare for my season. And so as I got more knowledgeable about cards, I just naturally started buying running back rookie cards that Christian McCaffrey, all the top fantasy running backs that I knew of, wide receivers. And I just kept talking about it. And, now it's really been kind of honed into where I mainly focus on raw cards. But I've been buying a ton of my favorite, highest projected running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks in there as well. But a lot of the skill positions and listing them on StarStock and ComSeed, I'm having really good success there. And I've got a much better understanding of the actual card sets that I want to target around those guys as well.
Gotcha. What about you, Boris? Like from when you started investing in cards to now, anything changed along the football side of it?
Oh, on the football side? Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, when, it's always been about quarterbacks, really, like you said. If you're looking at positional players, thinking more of the Hall of Famers and things like that, being safe bets. But, with the way that the current market has been, you could see it just in every sport right now. It's just really around that hype level is like, if they're having breakout games, if they're going to be in the finals, if it's this huge game and they put up a lot of points, then, you see the prices rise around those players. So, I've just noticed like people like Christian McCaffrey, people who have been over the past few years have been very, very good at their position. Those cards are starting to rise is what I've noticed. And so I've kind of taken looks in that direction. And then specifically, usually I look at like BGSs and things like that are not 10s that kind of look like maybe they could be a 10 on the PSA side, or and I kind of take it on usually on those and cracking and things like that and resubmitting.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, just because 10s seem to be so ridiculously expensive, like higher than the multiplier or the multiplier that people would tell me earlier on. It would be like 8x or 9x or something ridiculous, to the point where those 9s and the BGSs and even just the others to crack seem a lot more like a better value, just because the 10s like got so out of control. What about you, Dustin?
Yeah, so I got in, I was kind of a junk wax era kid. I got in 88 to 92. I did a lot of card collecting from like 8 to 7 to 12, 7 to 11. But like 89 Pro Set and 89 Score with the Barry Sanders rookie cards and the Troy Aikman rookie cards and all that stuff, Deion Sanders. That's where I got in. And then I got back in about 2 years ago, and I didn't fly into it. And I actually, I did see that stuff, was graded. That was something that was very different. When you go on eBay and you see graded cards, like in 1990, nobody was grading anything. It wasn't mainstream anyway. If they were, it was here and there, but it was very rare. So, getting back in, I did notice that was different. And what I did is I bought like a Joe Montana rookie card, PSA 8. I bought like Michael Jordan cards that stuff that I wanted as a kid, but I couldn't really afford. And nothing huge. Didn't buy any high dollar stuff, but just like a couple $100 cards. The Montana, I think, was $120 or something. And I bought like Barry Sanders rookies. I bought a full set of 89 Score in a binder for like $50 2 years ago. And it's got, it's all raw, but still, it was a set that I wanted as a kid. So I kind of just dinked and dunked about 2 years ago. And then about 1 year ago, leading up to the football season last year, and then also with basketball season coming up, I got into like, I saw what Pat Mahomes was doing. I was like, I need to get on top of some Pat Mahomes stuff. So I did, and so, but kind of like what these guys were saying, it was all QBs. Any sort of content I saw on YouTube or online was basically like QBs or bust, and one thing I'm kind of I'm interested in seeing this season. What happens is, like last season, McCaffrey had a monster year and his cards did nothing. His cards didn't move at all. And he had some he had some nice cards out there, and it didn't matter. Running backs and receivers didn't move. So I think that this year it's going to be different. I think demand is a lot different today than it was a year ago. And I just think there's a lot more people in it. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. I think that there is kind of more of that fantasy football transition over into it now, where people like, Andy are talking about tight ends and receivers and defensive players and running backs. And that's what I think is going to be a lot of fun this season compared to, what we've seen in the past.
Yes, it's funny you mention that because, when I talk to collectors and investors that have been around for years, they're still preaching the ideals of what it was without understanding the new dynamics, the new demographics, the technology, everything that's coming into play. And even though there were waves in the past, we never had technology like this. We never had fantasy football entering. We never had it being a cool thing. Sports cards were never something I considered to be cool unless you're under 16 years old. You know what I mean? It was always like, yeah, you did that as a kid, and then don't you want to buy a car? Don't you want to take girls out? Don't you want to buy clothes, right? And now, in LA, there's a new cool sports card shop. Buy all the sneaker stores and buy all the stuff that cool kids per se go to. And now I'm thinking, well, now who's the cool card? Like, is this going to be something where rappers talk about in their songs, in their lyrics, like literally just talking about a chrome rookie card of LeBron in one of their lyrics? I could see it happening. And so it's funny because I listened to how it was, and I have to take it with a grain of salt. Before, even months ago, I'd take it as like, this is the gospel. This is the way it was. Abide by these rules. And then now that all these other skill positions are selling in football, other positions in basketball, all these other things are going on, I'm like, we got to redefine the rules because it's changing. And in a year, it might be drastically different than it is now. But going into week one, let's just talk a bit about football specifically. Look, we got Bucks fans here and a Saints fan. So obviously we got one game that is going to be on all of our agendas. But what else are you guys most excited about this football season in terms of either it's a storyline to see if a player is underrated that you're thinking about or overrated? Andy, what are you most excited about besides the Bucks?
Besides the Bucks.
Well,
hold on. First, we got to give Dex Flow his fist pump, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, I will be your hooker that just fist pumps.
Brad can't put the cake down. He's only giving you one.
Oh shit. Sorry. That's for you, Dex Flow. So what besides the Bucks games and the Saints are you most excited about?
Okay. I think that the Steelers are due for a big comeback. I think you could certainly get behind that. I mean, pretty much every offensive player on the Steelers last year had an atrocious year. And Big Ben, I mean, he's recovering. I mean, and you look at what baseball players recover from that Tommy John surgery, a lot of them, that's a tough surgery to recover from, but he's had a really good camp. He looks good. I think that's going to be very interesting story to follow what happens in Pittsburgh. Certainly you got Baker Mayfield coming into his third years with all the weapons that he's got and now a new head coach. I mean, it's pretty much like, all right, Baker, this is your final chance to prove that you can be a generational franchise quarterback. A lot of people have already counted him out, but you could also put a lot of that on the coaching last year. Terrible scheme for him to be in. So that's a really, and then of course we got our Joe Burrow, who won the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin in NCAA history, who's like got winning blood in his DNA. That's going to be, I can't wait to see him play on the NFL field.
What about you, Boris?
Oh man, you're making it hard for me now. No,
Andy took all the good answers.
Yeah, Andy was like, I was like, please don't say all mine. No, I mean, my what I'm most excited about is I really do believe there's two narratives that I do believe in pretty big time. I mean, there's more than two narratives. There's two that I believe in that not everybody's on board with. The one of them is that I think this is going to be a great year for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that they're going to be very, very strong this year. I just do. I think with Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott and the weapons that he has around him and that offensive line, like being a little more secure, I think, in my opinion, like I even think their defense has gotten a little bit better as well. So I know they have that injury though, which kind of sucks for them, ex-Buccaneer player. But I still think that this is their year. I don't know why, but I think not that they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything like that. I think they're going to win some playoff games, and then Dak Prescott is actually going to get paid because everybody else is getting paid, and so now the Cowboys look pretty dumb with that because his price is just going to keep. Especially if he performs this year, his price is going to be stupid because of Deshaun, and Deshaun got paid too. Sorry, I rambled on about that, but that's one of them. And I know a lot of people aren't on board with that. And then my other guy that I really believe in this year is Josh Allen. And I think Josh Allen, I think they will win their division for 100%. And I just see him taking a major step forward this year. So,
all right.
Well, Dak Prescott's got his own football field built in his backyard. Like, he takes his game serious. And, I agree with you there, man, for sure.
All right, what about you, Dustin? And then after that, I want you other guys to think about who's the most underrated at this point after 5 months of talking about this. Is there anyone that is still underrated that their cards should be higher after 5 months of just talking about it and cards going up in value? So think about that. But Dustin, what's your take? What are you looking forward to besides Drew Brees trying to get out of the Bucs pass rush?
This is so easy. I'm so pumped to see what the Bucs are going to do this year. No, I think the Bucs are a juggernaut. I don't think anyone's going to stop them. As much as I'm a diehard, longtime Saints fan, I think if we're talking about my own team, I'm wondering if Drew Brees can hold up for another season because he ended the year pretty poorly against the Vikings. He had some. I'm not going to say that he lost the game for us, but he did not play well in that game. There was a myriad of reasons why we lost, but. So I think that Breeze is a big question mark. And then kind of what comes after that, is it the Taysom Hill show? Is Jameis Winston going to, come out of nowhere and take the reins? So I think for my own team, the QB room is interesting. And then I think around the league, there's a couple of things. My in-laws are all Browns fans, so I'm kind of with you, Andy. I'm interested in seeing kind of what can the Browns get over the hump and Baker Mayfield do his thing. Their division is brutal, though. I think that Burrow's going to struggle, but I don't think he's going to be terrible, and I don't think the Bengals are going to go 0-16. So I think that that division is going to. That division is always tough. They always beat each other up. So they're, I think that's going to be interesting. I do think Roethlisberger's got a chip on his shoulder. I saw an interview where he said, it's interesting being, the underdog. I kind of like being the underdog. I think he wants to come back and prove everybody wrong, even though they don't have Antonio Brown, they don't have Le'Veon Bell, et cetera. Another thing I'm really interested in seeing is going back to Burrow is, if Tua is legit, if Justin Herbert's legit, any of those new QBs. And then also the wide receiver draft class this year was insane. It's insanely talented. How many were there? Like 7 wideouts that went in the first round or something. So I'm really interested to see kind of what that crop does out of any position group out of the draft. That's one that I'm really interested in kind of keeping tabs on.
Yeah, and your boy Dak probably got the best one of them all, CeeDee Lamb, man.
I think so.
Yeah, if Amari Cooper can stay healthy, with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Zeke running the ball, it's trouble.
And Michael Gallup is
too.
Yeah.
They're all studs.
Right. So let me ask you guys real quick. Of the wide receiver rookies, who's going to have the best year? Just first guy on your mind. Who do you think is going to have the best year based on their situation, talent, all that kind of stuff?
I'm going Henry Ruggs with the Raiders. I think the Death Star. I think they're going to surprise people in Vegas. I think that, and Henry Ruggs is a freak athlete. I think I'm going to go with Ruggs, but I like all the guys honestly in the first round. There's not one that I think is going to bust, or that I think he was taken too high.
Yeah, that's tough because it's like they don't have the preseason games. You don't have the practices and the scrimmages have been cut down. There's no preseason games. So for those rookies to build chemistry with their quarterbacks, it's really tough to say, who's going to come out on the field. So I'm looking at a lot of the veterans really coming out strong, over the rookies. But if I had to pick a rookie, I'm probably going to go with CeeDee Lamb, just because I think there's an injury volatility there with Amari Cooper. and possibly Michael Gallup as well. And you could see CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they love to throw the ball in Dallas, and Dak's a really good deep ball thrower. Man, he's like Jerry Rice. So I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Wow, like Jerry Rice, man.
He's compared to Jerry Rice, man.
Pushing all the chips to the middle. Love it.
Well, that's using what's the platform or what's the software you use where they give you player profile comparisons? What's it called, Andy?
Playerprofiler.com. Founded by Patrick Murphy and Matt Kelly, the podfather from Fantasy_Mansion on Twitter, but you can find him on YouTube as well. Patrick Murphy from the fantasyfootballking.com, like guys actually pay these guys money to help them pick their rosters every year, run their team throughout the year. And his service even guarantees you go to the playoffs or you get your money back. So these guys, they're
like the first world service ever.
They're comparing
filtered water.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I mean, like the people that are hiring these guys have like alkalinized charcoal filtered water. I mean, if it's like you're hiring people to help you with your fantasy football, that's ridiculous. Okay, so real quick, going back to that prior question though, we've seen cards go up all across the board on the offensive side. Is there anyone that you've noticed that you're like, I can't believe this guy's prices aren't higher than it is based on everything that you know about the player or their situation? Anyone that it just comes to mind even after all this hype?
Go ahead, Andy.
For me, it's a couple running backs. We look at a guy that's starting Thursday night, David Johnson on the Houston Texans. I mean, yeah, there's some injury volatility there, but if you look at the beginning of his career when he really emerged in Arizona, that guy's an incredible all-purpose running back in the receiving game and the running game. And he's had a great camp. He's healthy. He's now a veteran, and this is pretty much his last push in the NFL. Like, he's on a prove it or lose it deal with Houston. Yeah. He's going to be their workhorse, and they're going to put him to the test. And I think I think he's actually going to perform well out of the gate unless he gets injured. So I think his rookie cards are still underpriced, but it's almost like he's got that volatility. So I wouldn't try and necessarily get greedy. I'm not trying to get greedy with, his rookie cards, like a Brady, or somebody or Christian McCaffrey. But he's
I picked up a few of his Prism rookies because they were like $5. I mean, it was like, and one of them was like a red Prism that was like numbered or something. It was more rare than silver. I'm like, for $7 or $8 shipped, I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, sure. I think that's been a lot of fun too. You guys can probably attest to it. It's just, there's a lot of zags. There's a lot of guys that are a couple bucks, $5, that could break out, But anyway, go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah, I'm going to say just one more guy, and that's Le'Veon Bell. He had a pretty bad year last year. He had half of that. Sam Darnold, they had no passing game. I mean, at one point I thought they were going to put Le'Veon Bell as the quarterback, like just like go run the offense, right? He had Sam Darnold get mono, and that really like derailed half of their season. And his rookie cards are still underpriced.
Has that ever happened before? I don't remember another guy ever going out for 6 weeks for mono. And in like the 30 years I've been watching football.
Isn't that what you get when you're in 10th grade? It's like that. That's the thing that my high school friends got when they're in 10th grade. Not something you get when you're an adult.
Was he licking toilets? Like, what was Sam Darnold doing? Come on.
Right, he lives in New York City, man.
Oh, geez.
Anyone on your guys' mind, Boris or Dustin, about still underpriced at this point? Or is everyone just wait?
No, I think Russ Wilson is still underpriced in my opinion. Just what kind of quarterback he is. I don't think they've given him the proper opportunity of like I said, man, I think there's a couple guys that if you put them on the Chiefs, I think they're probably, I don't, man. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a talent. You can't really compare people to him. But if you put Russell Wilson on the Chiefs, like you're getting pretty similar results. If you put Deshaun Watson on the Chiefs, you're getting pretty similar results. and they're the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. You know what I mean? That's just kind of my thing with them. And then, another guy that I think, so Russell Wilson, and then another guy that I think is super undervalued is Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He just is not a hype guy, and that's really why his cards aren't there. He also had a year of injury. They don't have the whole Le'Veon Bell situation anymore. So it's just kind of been like the hype hasn't really been around the Pittsburgh Steelers. And like you said, you definitely see them kind of coming back this year. If they can get it together. They do have, Deontay Johnson is his name. Yeah, he's been kind of picking it up. I want to see what happens with Juju, because I feel like Juju is like a really good number 2. I don't know if he should be the number 1. But he was like a very, very, very good, like Chris Godwin, basically, like in my eyes, it's like, you need a Michael Thomas out there to kind of open up the door. But, that's just kind of where I see it.
Yeah, I like the Ben Roethlisberger and Juju Smith-Schuster philosophy, because I always think like, dude, if you have a bad year, there should be a huge chip on your shoulder, because you have all the local media, the national media saying you're washed up, you suck, you're too injured. And so you have that, plus the expectations are low because the bar got lowered last year. The prices are there. So all you have to do is not be at that level. You just do a bit better, and your prices will probably rise somewhat. If you do amazing, then all of a sudden, like, wow, Big Ben is back, and da-da-da-da-da. Versus you were so amazing last year that if you don't go 16-0, then it's going to be a disappointment. And I feel like that's a lot easier to disappoint versus Juju Smith-Schuster, who has his old quarterback back. They're forgotten about. They're not. There's no hype around them. The prices reflect that. And now, an 8-8 season or 10-6, or just putting up some numbers could be enough for those very low cards to at least get up to the realm of the other quarterbacks. Who I don't know if Dustin, did you give your answer yet?
Not yet, no. So over the last couple months, I've only been buying actually for QBs, and only one set, only one type of card. 2016 Optic, first year Optic Hollows. And I've only been buying Roethlisberger, Breeze, and Aaron Rodgers. I think I actually picked up a couple Russell Wilson as well. And they're all raw. I didn't get any graded ones. But I was just looking back, and this was maybe like 3 months ago. And the Roethlisbergers were literally like $3 or $4. The Breeze was like $10. The Rodgers was $10. So I've been picking up those. And then I've been picking up just any year Silver Prism. Any year Silver Prism. The 2012 stuff is kind of pricey. But any year of the Prism Silver stuff, I'll pick up just those guys though, because here's my problem. The NFL right now, it's so QB rich right now. Every team, like if you go back 30 years, there was 10 teams that did not have a franchise quarterback. It was very top heavy as far as QB talent, and there was not very many teams that had good QBs. They were running the ball a lot. They had great running backs, but they didn't have QBs. Nowadays, it's a passing league. Every team's got a QB. I can't think of one team that is just, you've got an absolutely horrible QB. All of them, even the teams that don't have their act together, they've still got a couple guys on the roster that can probably start and have a halfway decent year. So that's my problem when buying QBs right now. And that's what's kind of pushed me off. And like with Andy's content, I really liked it because it's talking more about running backs, receivers, and defensive players and other positions, because for me, I can't differentiate between Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray. They're all in the same bucket for me. Like they're guys that like they could break out, they might not break out, they might be good in 1 year, they might be good in 8 years, but there's a bunch of guys kind of in the middle of the pack there that you don't really know who's going to be that guy after Tom Brady and Breeze and Roethlisberger, and Rodgers. Once these guys are all gone, there hasn't really been, other than Patrick Mahomes. Maybe Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson makes me nervous. Oh yeah, Travis Kelce, I love it.
Not as quarterback. That's responding to a comment.
Lamar Jackson, makes me nervous just because he's a running QB. He's got loads and loads of talent, but you've just seen that story play out many, many times before with guys. So I don't know. The one huge zag that I was talking about, I did a video on it the other day, and it's just fun because it's cheap stuff, but like, the Saints traded up to get Marcus Davenport, their pass rusher, last year, I believe it was, or 2 years ago. They traded up, and actually all the analysts were saying that we were trading up to pick Lamar Jackson to take over for Breeze, and we didn't pick Lamar Jackson. We took Marcus Davenport. So there's all this pressure on him because we need someone opposite Cam Jordan. That's why we tried to get Clowney, over the last week, because we need somebody opposite Cam Jordan, especially with Tom Brady and Matt Ryan and the rest of the gang, in the division. And so, but Davenport's like literally like Silver Prism autos are like $4. I picked up like 5 of them, because they're just giving them away. And but part of what I'm thinking is like, if defensive players do get love, if that's something that does catch on, if there is kind of money that flows into football cards this year and it's for different positions, and Davenport finally breaks out and kind of stays healthy and does his thing, then who knows? Maybe those will be $20 cards or whatever. This is kind of a fun zag, So
well,
anyway.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and it's funny because Andy and I talked about this a lot, where if you're a fan of a football team or just NFL, it's not like we're only fans of the quarterbacks. We're fans of the other positions, especially the ones that make the biggest plays, the sexiest plays, the strip sack, the pick six, the running touchdown, the 80-yard runs for a touchdown. But we saw it go naturally from, okay, we need to score touchdowns. Who has the most attention? It's the quarterback. To, well, who does the quarterback throw to? Who does he hand it off to? But then the other side, you have some big personalities on defense. And I feel like even though fantasy doesn't really correlate to defensive players so much, I just think of it like, as a fan of football,
yeah,
why wouldn't I spend $5 or invest $5 in the best linebacker rookie card if I were going to invest $300 or more in the best quarterback's raw prism card or whatever it is? And it just seems like, well, what happens if in week 3 we have one of the Bosa brothers come up with a 3-sack, 2-interception game, or 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and it's of Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes? My mind is, let me go out and buy some of his cards, right? It's like, I wouldn't want to wait until it's like, I guess it did take off, because the prices are so low that I'm okay with that gamble. But I just feel like if the trend passed on to wide receivers, tight ends, running backs so quickly, how long until other people think the same way of defense, even if it never touches that same level of price point? So I know I talked to Andy about that. Boris, what's your take on defensive players? Do you think that's something that we're going to see, or it's going to? Yeah, Shelly, I can't hide show that comment for too long, but I want to say hi. So what's your take on defensive players, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible to see, some hype build around some of the defensive players. Like I said, I guess we talked about, what's his name? Oh gosh, Khalil Mack. You look at this last what's it called? The HBO Hard Knocks. You got Aaron Donald on there, right? Isn't it this year, Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
Or was it last year? No, it's this year. The Rams, that guy's like crazy big and stuff like that, like why not, So, I mean, I picked up one of these thingies. That's an Aaron Donald.
Nice.
It just, it's numbered and it's gold. He's not dressed in his uniform, but, it's a rookie card. So cool. But yeah, I think we could see some upticks in that as well, for sure. Just big personalities, I think, is kind of where I would lean more on that. And just to interject real quick, I know that the Bucks are out of the. They got beat tonight by the Heat, so they're out.
Oh, okay. Well, there goes Giannis.
That update.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it.
The Bucks, because I actually did a lot of people don't realize this, but Tom Brady had pretty terrible season last year. This is also a prove-it year for Tom Brady, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because –
other Bucks. We were talking about the other Bucks there, but –
yeah, but Tom Brady's efficiency metrics last year were –
I agree with you. The Bucs season is over.
Bucs season is done.
Well, if Andy hears the word Bucks, there's only one Bucks. Okay?
One track mind.
Well, I was just bringing that up because, I know that I'm talking basketball. Sorry, and we'll go right back. Mm-hmm. But I was saying, I want everybody here to hear it, that I predicted that it would be the Clippers and the Celtics that play this year in the NBA championship. So one step closer.
All right.
And then we can go. You can talk about the Bucks. Yeah. What about the Bucks?
And we're going to do our Super Bowl predictions too. And I want to hear about Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year if you have one as well, or Player of the Year.
What do you guys? So I'm going to throw something at you too. Have any of you looked at vintage football? Like one thing I've been doing, if we're talking about defensive players too, I bought like an LT rookie card. I bought a Howie Long rookie card the other day. But look, you can get PSA 9. I got a PSA 9 Howie Long rookie card for $40. You know, I mean, like that stuff. And these are Hall of Famers. So in a PSA 10, I had like bids on that card. I love that card. In a PSA 10, that card was literally like $80 a month ago. And now it's like 200 or something. It's gone through the roof. It's gone way up.
I think the other point is that if there's guys that like Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw, so you had a Terry Bradshaw card, I'm thinking to myself, maybe a 20-year-old doesn't really care to invest in that. But if I'm 50 and I was watching football in the 70s and 80s and whatnot, you know, I'm thinking of it this way. You're further along in your career more. You probably have more disposable income. And those cards mean more to you than all these young guys. You probably would.
I should say too, those are not flip cards for me. Those are definitely long-term holds. So, and I know a lot of what we're talking about is more like in-season flip. So that's we'll go ahead and throw that out there. I'm not buying a Howie Long rookie so I can flip it week 3. You know, he had a. Did you see?
When he has really good comments on NFL Sunday, it's like, damn, that analysis was on point, Howie. You know, his stock rises.
That's why Romo's won't ride.
Howie's looking good today.
Yeah. Can I interject on that? So the only thing I would, and just to say this, the only thing is that the hype is just not going to be around those guys. Like I think long-term investment, yes, it's great, but I just don't know. I think the people who are driving the market up right now are like mid-20s people and like people like that, flippers and things like that. And so they're looking at what's live right now, which is why a LeBron card is way more expensive than, or can be more expensive than a Michael Jordan card. You know, like that's obviously not right in my head, but like that's the only thing is that this generation, the generation. I don't know which generation it is, but they're the ones that are driving up the market.
Triple Z or something. I don't know what we're in right
now. So that's my only interjection to that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the vintage like investing in a like a government bond or a CD or something. It's a lot less volatile. Like you said, Howie Long's not going to go out and tear his ACL or Terry Bradshaw. Other than I mean. Yeah, so from that standpoint, I think they're really safe. But like you said, Boris, the upside in the right now in the near future is not there. So it's a long-term hold. But
definitely a long-term.
Yeah. And I'd like to know how many 20-something-year-old flippers are getting in, but also 40, 50, 60-year-olds that their sons or daughters are getting into it, or they used to do it and now they're hearing about it. And it's just like it's not that drastic leap into sports cards. But they're like, oh, yeah, I used to do this. And then in the next 6 to 12 months, they'll start getting in. And especially with the big money entering, like the hedge funds and whatnot that are buying up the big cards, like that money that's not 20-year-old money right there. That's like, okay, big money from guys that are making, millions a year. And then they want to invest in something that I could see it like that Howie Long card or like the Terry Bradshaw or something going up. Just because of the whole market versus something individual. But regardless, for a long-term hold, I think when you could pay such a low price, there's no real reason for it to go down if the price has been pretty much the same as before all of this took place. You know what I mean? Like if it's pretty close to pre-COVID prices on anything that's guaranteed, like Hall of Famer, I would say – where's there to go? It can't go down with where the hobby's going in the next couple of years. Yeah, institutional investors. And exactly, it's like old money. They just want to protect it. They want something secure, and that's what that is. And maybe in the institutional money, there'll be 20% or 40% that'll be more active, but then you have that big base of just this will go up steady over time. We don't have to worry about it. It's not going to be volatile, but
You know
we
what?
will get that 20% growth.
One thing I will say though, that I was DMing with a guy that he's big into vintage, and he was talking about like, hey, have you looked at what George Gervin, Iceman rookie cards are going for right now? And he said literally that it's like 7 times what it was six months ago. So part of my thought with football is because vintage basketball is like skyrocketing. Vintage basketball, I mean, Dr. J rookies. Now, granted, we're talking Lou Alcindor, Dr. J. A lot of those guys are, all-timers. They're kind of the cream of the crop of the Hall of Famers. But then there's also guys like George Gervin who, I mean, he's well known, but like a 25-year-old doesn't know who George Gervin is, and those cards are way up too. So, and that was part of my thought with football is football going to be that next rush where you have those vintage guys that are looking at basketball, then they look at Walter Payton rookie cards and they're like, oh, well, that's actually a pretty good deal. Or Dan Marino. A PSA 10 Dan Marino rookie card is $2,200, and there's like 1,000 of them or less. So if you compare that to some of the other stuff, I don't know. But you're right. I mean, that's not something I'm not looking to flip. That's more just buy and hold, and I think it's cool to have long term. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I see a lot of comments on players here I want to get in because I want to answer you guys. Shelly, this is the Brady bunch, so thank you. Thanks for noticing that. But, okay. I want to put out some predictions now, just so we could have it on the record so that when we're insanely wrong in 17 weeks' time, we could look back and make fun of ourselves. And then we're going to answer these questions here in terms of what players that you're mentioning, just first thoughts that we have. So who is going to win the Super Bowl, and who are they going to beat, and what will the score be? I hope you guys have thought of this. At least give me something on the score, but who is the winner? Who are they beating? And give me something of a score. So who's ready?
I'll go first.
All
right. So I think that this could it's either going to be Saints or Bucks versus the Chiefs. And I'm going to say, and this is a dig on all those Falcons fans out there, they're going to win 28-3.
Ooh.
So for the Falcons fans that are watching just like through their laptop across the room.
Chiefs are winning? Or are you saying the Saints or Bucks are winning?
I'm going to say the Saints or the Bucks are going to beat the Chiefs, which I know sounds insane because I don't think the Chiefs are going to put 3 points on the board, but that's more of just falling in line with the Falcons' dig. So I'm going to stay with that.
Gotcha. Insult over logic. Got it. Andy, who do you got?
Oh, of course, it's Tampa in the Super Bowl. I mean, come on, right? But because Dustin went with Kansas City, I think the Ravens are going to edge them out in the championship game. So I'm going to go Tampa at Baltimore. Final score 42-35. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be fun, exciting.
All right. And Boris?
Ooh, man.
I texted you this this morning, man, so you had all day. You better. I'm expecting you to be like on point with your nose flipping through.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, I definitely think that the Bucks are going to be I think they're going to be hosting this year. The hard part for me is deciding who they're going to be hosting. I played around with the Ravens in there, and then he said the Ravens. So that's kind of where I was, but the Bucks for sure hosting. I was kind of having trouble on who's going to be on the other side of that. The Ravens do look good. I think the Chiefs aren't going to go as far as they did this past year, in my opinion. So
it could be your boy Josh Allen up there in Buffalo.
That's another. That's one of the other ones that I'm. It was like Rave, but I don't want to commit that hard to the Bills, but I think they could. They could be definitely up in that area. So yeah, I was playing around mostly with the Ravens and the Bills, but I think the Bucks are coming out. I know that you guys don't want to hear that, or actually, you guys want to hear that.
I want to hear
Dustin. Dustin doesn't want to hear that.
Just ignore Dustin. I can remove him from the stream. See, there we go. That was so easy.
Oh, hey, you saw though. I'm showing respect. I see the team is good. Like, I mean, they're stacked. So
they're stacked. Yeah.
I'm not that fan that's like, oh, I hate the Bucks, so they're not going to go anywhere. No, I respect that team. Actually, I wouldn't say it. It's not Brady. I think what puts them over the top is their underrated defense. That's going to be that no one really talks about. I think that their middle linebacker was a Devin.
Devin White.
Devin White. I think he's going to take another step forward. I just think their D is going to be the difference maker. Not that their offense is going to be good, because it will be. But, if their defense was crappy, then I would say, like, it's just hype. But, no, I think the Bucs are legit.
Yeah, go Bucs over Seahawks. Seahawks are on the AFC,
Seahawks,
right?
well, they're in the NFC.
Oh, shit. Dude, we never play the Seahawks. I just keep thinking like the other side. Because all I follow is the Bucs.
Yeah, we played them last.
Okay,
That was actually the first time I saw
we beat the Seahawks in the championship game. We beat the Seahawks in the championship game. And then I feel like the Ravens make a lot of sense because they won a Super Bowl here in Tampa with Trent Dilfer, of all people. It's like, how painful was that? Yeah. I'm going to go Bucs over Ravens. 31-17. That'll be my score.
Oof,
but anyway, so with that, who's named MVP? MVP of the year? Whoever's ready.
I'm going to say Mahomes. I don't think anyone's going to stop Mahomes. I just don't. He's got more weapons than he did last year. So
he's the favorite. He's the favorite. Vegas, Vegas's odds.
And that's too easy, though. I feel like, man, that's just too easy. We got to go with someone. Who would be number two? Then? Who's number two?
I'm not going with him.
Who's going to be ninth in the voting?
Who's going with?
He is selected by a panel of 50 judges that are made up of like Chris Collinsworth, Troy Aikman, all these retired players and coaches and sports journalists. So it's like, who do you got, Boris?
Are we talking about Super Bowl MVP or MVP?
No, MVP.
Just last year it was Lamar.
Yeah, last year was Lamar.
Man, I mean, Lamar, I feel like Lamar could repeat. But to be honest with you, I just see it being like someone like, I'm just gonna keep going with my theme here. It's either gonna be Dak Prescott or Josh Allen.
I would throw Russell Wilson in the mix too. I think Russell Wilson could be
if Pete Carroll let him throw the damn.
He says, I mean, it's looking like they might let him open up a little bit, but they're a run heavy team. They're a run first team, so it's like kind of sucks for him.
I like Dak in that conversation. He got a vote last year. And, man, he's got these weapons are just insane. But I think that with all of the judges and the way that this guy's got so much clout in the NFL that Tom Brady in Tampa, I think he's going to go out and have a total bounce back from last year and get one more MVP. Maybe we win the Super Bowl and he finally retires. I doubt it, but –
Well, then I want him to come back next year.
And his eyes just light up when he's talking about it. Like I've never seen a guy more excited in my life than
we gotta tie ourselves down to those. So I'm gonna tie myself down. I'm just gonna do it. MVP Dak Prescott, most improved player. I'm gonna go with Josh Allen, and then what do you call it? Super Bowl MVP Tom Brady.
Nice.
So my most improved player, or also my most disappointing player, is the same guy, Cam Newton. I think it could go either way. He's either going to be the most improved, or he's going to get hurt like he had, and he's going to be a big disappointment there.
He's going to try and do it on his legs.
I think that was one of the biggest questions is the Stidham and Cam Newton dilemma, because like. It looked like Stidham was going to be quarterback. It looked like, barring a ridiculously low contract where it's zero risk of someone who's been to a Super Bowl and has been a great quarterback for many years with obviously a big injury, that the Patriots looked like they were pretty content with Stidham being their quarterback if Cam wasn't available for free.
Yeah, the Patriots are the most intriguing team in the NFL to me outside of like the Bucs, just because what the heck are they going to look like? I mean, you have Cam, but then they have like 7 or 8 guys on defense that opted out this year. Like 7 or 8 starters on defense.
Right.
Yeah. And I've said this in some of my videos, but like I think that it's like the Sith Lord Bill Belichick is like, this is his way of like, hey, look, like we're a complete disaster and everything's falling apart, and then they're going to go win the Super Bowl, with like a ragtag team of nobodies. Because that's how he wants it to be.
I feel like Bill Belichick not winning is just hard to like comprehend. It doesn't really matter. The team, it just seems like
if you go back to the archives, man, he used to not win before the Patriots.
Yeah,
but then he can't go back. It sounds crazy to see him go back.
Browns around pretty quickly though. Like they had a couple losing seasons, but then they were on the right track before he left. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, can you imagine seeing a Patriots team that's like 3-13? I mean, it hasn't happened in over 20 years.
It's kind of like imagining Phil Jackson having like a 20-62 season. It's just like, yeah, but it's Phil Jackson. It's like, yeah, he had Kobe, he had Michael Jordan, he had the best, but like it's hard to understand that he could lose more games than he wins. And it's almost like, yeah, you're kind of crazy. You're losing players here. You had this really strange incident with quarterbacks, like getting Jarrett Stidham as the starter and all this, and then replacing him with Cam Newton. But you're just too smart that I don't even understand it. Like I have to give him that credit of like, you're too genius for me to even comprehend. So I'm expecting them to go 10-6 or something like that. So question, is Jarrett Stidham starting at all this year?
I'm going to say yes.
What week?
I'm going to say, I think it's going to be the back half of the year. I think Cam will get through the front half of the year. And then I'm going to say like week 9 or something, coming off of a bye.
Okay. And then what about you guys? Is he starting or on the bench?
Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah.
The only way he's starting is if Cam gets injured. So barring an injury, I don't see him getting in.
But you think Cam is going to play good enough to not get benched at some point? He's not going to struggle 3 games in a row or anything. Okay. Because like Jarrett Stidham's still one of my most intriguing picks, or not picks, but like card investments, because I'm like, this guy was set to start, and it really took a miracle. To me, it struck me as a miracle to get Cam Newton. It didn't seem like this crazy strategy that they came up with way before the draft. It sounds like something that fell into their laps at the right time. And because of that, in a 1 year, what's like a 1 year, $1 million contract, that is enough to intrigue the Patriots to bring him on. And then even Jarrett Stidham, I think, had a leg injury in training camp or something pretty mild, but it allowed Cam Newton to get a lot more first team snaps, which pretty much coaxed him into that first string and captain role. So I'm still like, if Bill Belichick was going to start Stidham, and he's been under Tom Brady for years, he knows all the players, he knows the system, he knows the coaches, that sounds like a really good backup quarterback to invest in at a low price. So, like, I don't know, that's just my thought process, but I wanted to hear your guys' take on Stidham if he's going to go the whole year without playing, and then maybe next year where he gets traded to another team and is able to start somewhere else.
They also have Brian Hoyer, which I know like no one really pays attention to him, but Belichick really likes Brian Hoyer, and he's kind of a journeyman that he can come in and play. He's not going to light up the scoreboard or anything, but he can manage a game, So I guess he's kind of another person I think about too. I didn't see the Patriots' final roster, so I don't know if they kept 3 QBs or if they dropped Hoyer. But yeah, that's just another thought too.
That was like the saddest thing I've ever seen. I remember it was like 2 or 3 years ago when Josh Gordon played for Cleveland and Brian Hoyer had the starting job, and it was like Thursday night, and he gets like 2 50-yard touchdowns. Josh Gordon is like, everybody's talking about this hometown Cleveland hero, Brian Hoyer, and then like literally 2 series later, he breaks his leg. Do you remember that game? It was like it was a primetime slot. It was like Thursday night or Sunday night. Oh, man, that was sad. I felt so bad for that guy.
Well, on the flip side of that, Alex Smith made the Washington team roster. And if you ever saw a picture of his leg, which was infected, it looked disgusting. It looked like he belonged on one of those zombie movies. It was just like the most disgusting looking thing ever. It looked like his leg was going to be amputated, but that's the flip side of coming back from injury. All right, so we have our MVPs. Who's going to be the biggest disappointment, most overly hyped person that people are just going to sell their cards at a loss because they're just going to suck it up? Anyone that comes to mind?
Here's a hot take. I'm going to say Lamar Jackson. I'm going to say he's the defending MVP. And the reason, and not because it's any fault of his own, I think that he's going to get banged up this year. And I think that he's going to have a down season. because of it. That's just speculation. But just with how much he runs and everything, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that, I hope it doesn't happen. I'm planning on taking him in my fantasy draft tomorrow night if I can. But yeah, I'm going to say Lamar Jackson just has kind of or he regresses some next year or this year.
And this is the most disappointing. So
yeah, based on hype right now.
Based on hype right now. Ooh. Well, I was going to say there was someone I was thinking about earlier, but not based on the hype right now. That I think is going to be a disappointing season. Huh?
Who is it?
Carson Wentz. I think it's going to be another disappointing season for them. But if we're talking hype right now, I would say hype right now. I mean, yeah, the Lamar thing, because he's so hyped. There's only one way to go because there's always usually a regression after the first year. So, but I would say Kyler Murray.
I can see
any
that.
reason why.
He's a good quarterback. I just think they don't have that season to bring in what's his name as get him as acclimated with DeAndre Hopkins, but he is a beast. I just think it's not going to come together as well as they would like it to. I think his third season is going to be a really great breakout season. I don't think we're going to get the season out of him that people want out of him right now, though. I just don't see it happening this season. But their defense is not that great, so they are going to be playing from behind a lot. So he's probably going to have a lot of passing yards. But yeah, I just don't see them doing. I think his prices are going to go down. Let's just put it that way. If you're talking about hype.
What about you, Andy? Who's going to be the biggest letdown?
I don't know if he's really been hyped up all that much, but when I looked into this guy's rookie card prices, I was kind of surprised. I was expecting them to be a lot lower, and that's Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis. And he's got a long resume, but he's not at the Hall of Fame status yet. And they've got some good weapons in Indianapolis, but Phillip Rivers, man, just such a big decline in his arm strength, in his accuracy, everything the last couple of years. I think he could flop. I'm not nearly as bullish on your guy, Josh Allen, as you are, Boris. And I think he may still be a little bit underpriced, like from what you're saying. I haven't really looked into his rookie cards. But I'm big on Josh Allen, the runner, and I think he's a tough guy, but like his deep ball accuracy, I'm really interested to see how that pans out this year. Like if he can hit Stephon Diggs deep, or if he ends up with 8 picks. I still think they're going to win their division. I think a big reason that is their defense, but I'm not convinced that he's like a franchise, quarterback like Dak or somebody, All
right. So I see a lot of questions about specific players here, and I want to rattle through these comments because I see really good questions about different starters like Derek Carr. And I want to go through this quickly. So if you have a take on Derek Carr or a certain player, I want you to just blurt it out.
It's do or die for Carr this year. I'd say do or die for him this year. It's either he makes it happen or John Gruden gets rid of him. That's my quick take on Derek Carr.
Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do anything.
I heard Gruden likes Mariota. I heard that was like he doesn't like Carr already, but I don't know where that came from. Someone just said
Carr's brother was a flop and a high draft pick, and Derek Carr, man, yeah, he's pushing it. Talking 2012 or 2014? I can't remember Carr's rookie year, but yeah, this is do or die for him, man. The weapons they've got, the O-line, everything they've got now in Vegas, yeah.
All right, what about I got Daniel Jones for New York. First impressions of Daniel Jones.
He's going to be a disappointment.
Disappointment?
Yep.
I think he's actually going to – I'm not going to say break out, but I think he's going to surprise some people this year. And part of it is because I think you can make an argument that the NFC East is the worst division in football just based on just overall talent. There's not one team. The Cowboys are the obvious team to win that division, I suppose. Maybe the Eagles have got some things going, but not much. But it's top to bottom. I'm not high on the NFC East, and so that's where I think that Daniel Jones could maybe do some things. Whereas if he was in like the NFC West, then he would be toast. But
thoughts on? Oh yeah, sorry, Andy. Go, Daniel Jones.
No, I'm pretty much in agreement that Daniel Jones is going to struggle. I mean, they got a really not great offensive line, and their defense is not great either. But he's got the weapons, man, and he's mobile. He's mobile, like he's pretty mobile. But it's going to be he's got an uphill. You look at their schedule. The first 5 games is ridiculous.
Yeah. And he actually was one of the guys. Actually, I should have mentioned him in the disappointments. I think he's going to be where his price is. I think he's going to be a disappointment.
Boris has a lot of disappointments on the list.
No,
your expectations are just too high of people, man.
Yeah.
I just think Daniel Jones is like, people think he's like, I think people were just so eager to get rid of Eli Manning that they're just like, oh my God, Daniel Jones, like, and I just don't like. I think he's going to struggle this year. And like Tate is on the he's been pretty much sitting out during practices lately, and so that's one of his weapons that we don't know what's going to happen with him. Especially I think it's like a soft tissue issue as well, as they say.
That's not good.
So
yeah,
I'm gonna be so when we look back on this in 6 months or whatever, I'm gonna be the guy that went against the grain, and I'm gonna say Daniel Jones is gonna do some good things. I'm not saying the Giants are going to the playoffs, but I think that Jones is going to surprise people. All right, go ahead.
Check out their first 8 games: Steelers, Bears, 49ers, Rams, Cowboys.
Sell Daniel Jones now. Sell Daniel Jones now. Buy him after week 8 when you can get his rookie cards for $4 a pop, and then he might go like 4-4 in the second half of the year.
That's exactly what I did with Baker Mayfield last year. I bought Baker Mayfield when they were like 2-6 or something because his cards leading up to last season were very expensive. And then you saw as they started to lose and OBJ was having issues and they were having locker room problems, it just started coming on down and his stuff became very affordable. So, yeah, I think that's what I'll do with QBs this year is just kind of watch and see the guys I like that are struggling. I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to try to pick them up.
Well, I think Shelly asked about Baker Mayfield, so I want to get your take on that. But for me, just with the prices going up and no actual movement up until Thursday, for me, I'm still waiting on like, okay, I need some disappointments. I need some injuries. I need like someone to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks so I can invest so that when they're back in the second half of the year, hopefully on a playoff team, then there'll be extra high expectations and maybe they'll do a lot better. But right now it's just a matter of like, you should be good. You should be good for the price. Like it's just a matter of going back and forth. But because we have 16 weeks plus playoffs, my strategy is pretty much, all right, who is going to disappoint the most after week 3, week 4, but we'll still be back around week 12, 14, 15, especially if they're on a great team and they have the pieces around them to make them look a bit better. But Baker Mayfield.
Oh, Baker Mayfield. I do think that he's going to bounce back this year. I don't know if they're going to do anything major. I still think their division is brutally tough. So I think I've got kind of like I'm going to say they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be a first round exit out of the playoffs. But that'll be good enough for fans to kind of keep them around,
and probably good enough for his card prices to go up from where they're
at. Possibly, yeah. There's one question that was up here too. I think it was
the tight ends. Yeah.
I think that as far as cards go, it'll be a great sign if tight ends cards are shooting up. That's a great sign for everybody else because that's nothing against tight ends, but I mean we're really kind of moving down the line. Then if those guys outside of guys that are popular like Gronk or like Kelsey, if you see other guys, I picked up Eric Ebron cards recently because I think Roethlisberger is going to target him as a red zone target outside of Juju. And I got like select autos numbered out of 50 for like $5. So I'm like, yeah, give me a handful of those. What the heck? And that's kind of that fantasy football, extension of fantasy football thing. But anyway,
there's a in that breaks out every year. You look at Kittle; they didn't even print Kittle in a Prism or a Select. Yeah. Kittle literally has like a Phoenix. He has like a Phoenix and a National Treasures. That's it. And then his second year,
I was looking for his stuff too a few weeks ago, and there just wasn't anything that I liked. And I was just like, well, it's too weird. Like there's a bunch of weird stuff out there that's expensive now because everyone's in on George Kittle. So yeah, it's really interesting. I hope tight ends, get love, hobby love. That'd be great.
So which tight ends besides the big ones, who's number 4 through 8, as in they could break out? We've seen enough to know that, all right, they just need to tweak and improve a bit over the last couple of years to really hit that next level. Anyone on the top of your mind, Boris or Dustin?
I'll say TJ Hawkinson for the Lions. He's a young guy that he's kind of had some pops. He's had a few big plays, but Stafford was injured last year, so the Lions kind of sloped down. They were just out of it from the beginning. But he's a guy he's got a ton of talent. I think he was drafted like 8th overall or something. He was a first rounder, a high pick. So yeah, that'd be mine.
Yeah,
tight ends?
We didn't answer the what do you call it question, did we either? I will go back to that.
What was
I was just gonna say Baker Mayfield is gonna be on my disappointment list. I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding, man. No, I think
more Diet Coke. Right back.
No, I'm just kidding on Baker. I think Baker will be fine. Blake Jarwin.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
The Dallas Cowboys will have a breakout season.
I mean, it goes hand in hand with your pick of Dak Prescott, and the Cowboys' success. So it makes sense right there. Andy, who was one of your top tight ends?
Yeah,
or not top, but like that second tier.
Yeah, the next tier. Yeah, you guys hit Jarwin, Hawkinson, great picks. I'd also throw Noah Fant in there on Denver Broncos. Guy's got an incredible athletic profile. He's bound to break out. And also Jonnu Smith in Tennessee. Dude is a stud. And he's bound to break out. I saw someone mention Hunter Henry. There's a lot. I mean, that's the thing. Tight ends are typically big-bodied. They're good at blocking. They're meant to be like half lineman, half wide receiver, half running back. Yeah. So, but they also have the highest injury volatility out of pretty much any of the skill positions that we look at. They get injured the most. So that's what's tough about them. I
like the Falcons tight end too. I forgot what his name is.
Hayden
Hurst. Yeah. I think Hayden Hurst and Blake Jarwin are going to be those tight ends this year that, like kind of like where George Kittle came out of nowhere and Austin Hooper. I think those are the two next guys, in my opinion. But I do like the other calls that you made too as well, and they could very well be those people like Jonnu Smith and Noah Fant as well.
Noah Fant. Yeah, I see someone mentioned Dallas Goedert. I mean, there's also Mike Gesicki in Miami, and I saw someone mention Miami. I mean, Miami won out their last 4 games last year. They're supposed to have a much improved offense and defense this year. So that's an interest. Like Miami is an interesting story to watch this year. Like they could be a sleeper team finally coming back to form. I don't know.
I mean, I remember you were talking pretty highly about Ryan Tannehill cards. Well, based on the price, though. Based on the price.
Yeah. Well, you get the double bonus with his rookie card. It's a 2012 Prism.
Yeah,
and it's a rookie card.
So another guy from 12 that I've been picking up as kind of a zag too. I spent maybe like $75 on him, just raw rookie cards. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is at 12 Prism. But I was in the Superdome last year when Kyle Rudolph pushed off and they won the game-winning touchdown and they cheated. No, I'm kidding. But Cousins, he might be a guy that's finally getting them over the hump. I mean, because it was always like Cousins is great in the regular season, but he can't do anything in the postseason. And last year he did pretty well considering. And the Vikings are a team that's kind of flying under the radar. Nobody's really talking about him. But his Prism rookie cards, I bought a couple of them. The 2012 Raw for like $20. There's also like a Topps Chrome refractor I got for $10. So that's kind of it's an inexpensive zag for a guy that's. He's fairly proven, but he's one of those middle of the pack guys, and maybe he breaks out, maybe he doesn't. But
there's a rookie wide receiver to look at, Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's supposed to replace Stephon Diggs, essentially, the Stephon Diggs role in Minnesota, and you still have Thielen there. So,
and I like Zimmer. Zimmer is such a great coach in Minnesota, and then they got the Jags defensive end that's been wanted to be traded. I can't pronounce his name. Anyway, so now they've got Hunter, and then it starts with a Y. It's the Jags pass rusher. He's a monster. So on the other side of Hunter. So I mean their defense is going to be good. I think the Vikings will be pretty good.
Okay, so looks like everyone can be really good, and everyone could suck and disappoint. I think that's the consensus is.
And all those guys are on Boris's.
Everybody except for the Bucs.
Everyone's going to disappoint Boris except for Dak Prescott, who's going to win the Super Bowl MVP and all that.
No. That's not what I said. Hold on. Dak is the MVP of the regular season.
Then he'll disappoint you in the playoffs.
Tampa Tom is gonna be the Super Bowl MVP.
Okay. So we're over an hour here, and there's just a bunch of players being mentioned. And look, we just got to wait for week 1 to have something of substance of like, all right, first disappointment for Boris across the board. You know, like these 48 players disappointed Boris because your standards are high, man. But let's just talk real bit quick about strategy before we sign off, which is just where are you guys at with your investing on football now? Is there anything like, are you just in a hold right now? Are you going to wait a couple weeks? Are you still investing in different sets, different players? You know, because we've just had very little news overall for the last several months, with the exception of a couple big pickups. But where are you guys at with your investing now? Is there anything you're doing actively at this moment, or are you just kind of like chilling and waiting? Andy, let's start with you.
Heck no, man. I'm buying. I'm still buying, man. I saw someone mention Scotty Miller. I mean, I'm buying like sleeper picks, dirt cheap. I'm buying Jonnu Smith. I'm buying Noah Fant. I'm buying defensive players. There's still some quarterbacks that we talked about, like Cousins, Matt Stafford, a guy we haven't mentioned tonight. You know, there's still yeah. So I'm still buying. But I'm also selling a lot right now, and I'm not looking to get greedy. Like I bought in so low on a lot of these skill positions, like my Christian McCaffreys, my Calvin Ridleys, my Julio Jones, all those guys. I'm selling them now because I really don't want to get greedy. I'm already at 400%, 400 or 500% my return. I'll just take it and reinvest that into guys that I feel are still so underpriced. There's little downside. You know, and then I'll just watch it closely like I do fantasy football and see how it goes.
So all the obvious picks you already got months ago, you're selling those at a good profit to then go into the sleeper picks that are still really low to see if it'll spread there or if those guys will impress and not disappoint.
I sold today, guys. I sold a raw select Dak Prescott rookie card for $65. Like,
what'd you get it for?
I bought that for $15. I bought that for $15 back in, I want to say, end of May. You know, I'm going to take that. Like, I think, Dak is going to continue to get better, but why risk it? Like, it's incredible profit, you know?
When you get that ROI that you're happy with, then you can just take it and say, all right, well, how do I duplicate this again with a lower risk? Like, where will that go next? What about you, Boris? Are you actively buying, or are you just holding and waiting and seeing?
I'm just waiting to see who disappoints me, man. You know,
I'm sure it'll happen soon, man. I'm sure it'll happen real soon.
I mean,
first snap Thursday night, man. You got 22 people on the field. At least 19 are going to disappoint you at that moment.
Whoever loses Thursday night, Boris is all in on those guys.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've done a lot of I'm dabbling here and there with the football market. I think at this point, I think, you know, selling before the season starts is probably at higher margins is probably your best bet, and then watching what happens throughout the season after that, because you can always reinvest. Most people, you know, one mistake I made this year for sure, 100%, was I bought into the Lamar Jackson hype, and I bought him too high. I'm pretty sure. So now I'm holding, and I'm like, holy crap, please do something in these first few weeks so that I can actually get my money back, because I bought into that hype. And so that wasn't my smartest move on that. And, you know, I think everybody has one of those guys that they do that on. You know, it's just like, that was the one guy I did it on. I've managed to not do it at all with basketball. And then I came over to football, and I'm like, yeah, for sure, this card is going to continue to go. And it hasn't been lately. So, yeah,
there
so now I'm
been
chilling.
A softening of prices too. I will say that football's gone up overall, but there has been this like huge August and then like exhale September, and that was something I noticed. July was soft for me. And then August got really hot, and then September cool. I just wonder if that's going to be like a month, like high month, low month, like inhale, exhale type of thing. But go on, finish your thought.
Yeah, I mean, I still have some. I've got some Josh Allen at PSA. I've got some Josh Allen here. I've got some Baker Mayfield here as well. And so I'm kind of holding on those and see what they kind of do in the first couple games, because their beginning seasons is pretty decent.
Boris, you have that card now now it's up on eBay for $130.
Yeah, right. I mean, it depends, man. Like, how did that thing look, man? I'm gonna submit it over to PSA.
It was Star Stock A, brother. Star Stock A.
Woo, man!
I will say, Comp C has continually delayed my expected date or estimated date, like week after week after week. It's now 2 months behind of the expected or estimated date from July. But then Star Stock got my stuff up. Or it's in their system already. It just needs to be uploaded. So I'll wait on that, but it's a lot quicker. So for football rookies, I'm definitely taking that route without having to wait for the whole season to go by on Comp C and like hopefully sell cards in December when they finally get it uploaded. But Dustin, what's your thought process right now as we enter week 1?
Yeah, so I'm buying, like I said, I'm buying a lot of graded vintage football right now. But I think that the one, if we're talking about modern football, I'm buying. So I picked 3 running backs that I think are just the most exciting, or I guess not the most, but exciting players that I like to watch. Alvin Kamara, obviously, McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry. The way that he just demolished the league last season, watching him play. I mean, the Titans were a pretty good team, but he made that team last year. I mean, and he was the whole team. I mean, I know Tannehill threw the ball well, but Tannehill wasn't doing anything without him running the ball and their line and everything else. So, I picked up a lot of, like, about a month ago, I picked up a lot of like Optic Hollow Derrick Henry rookies raw, and I picked up a bunch of Alvin Kamara Optic Hollow and regular Optic rookie cards. And then I also picked up a bunch of Kamara Prism Silvers, because in the 17 they're all silver. There's no base in 17. So I picked up maybe 6 or 7 of those.
Are they going to work out a deal for him?
I did see that they're very close to the deal. So he's playing. I think that was my thing, is like, is he going to hold out? Is he going to sit out? Or is he going to play and work this out? I guess it seems like he's on track for week 1, and they're just finalizing the deal. They don't have it yet. But as far as McCaffrey goes, his rookie cards, I didn't buy any because they're pricey now, and I just don't feel like I feel like now is probably the worst time to buy a McCaffrey rookie card, like leading right up to the season. So what I was doing, I was kind of thinking, and this is probably like, I don't know how you guys think about this mindset, but I'm thinking because he's like the young talent, the exciting, talent in the league, kind of like a Luka Doncic in basketball. I bought a ton of Luka Doncic second-year Prism and Optic Hollow when those came out, and they were very inexpensive. And that's what I've been doing with Derrick Henry and Kamara as well, and with CMC. I'm just buying a bunch of like second-year Optic Hollows for like nothing, and some of them are orange, numbered and all the rest of it. Because my thought is, like, if football does take off and skyrocket, the rookie cards will get super expensive, and then that second year will kind of trend up with it if it goes the way that basketball went. Yeah, that was the thought.
I like your thought process, because for me, I ask myself, who are the coolest, most popular players? And the first thought is, I don't want to invest in them at all, because all their prices of the main cards are going to go through the roof. So that would be Zion, Luka, like Giannis, like great players. Some of them great, some of them more hype, but just where's everyone's attention on, and who would be, if someone was showing off having a card, what player would it be? And that's when I was buying the Damian Lillards and like the other guys that I felt like, no one's really talking about them. Let me buy them now while they're low. And then obviously with Luka taking off, it was like, all right, well, what card hasn't been overly hype or like overly bid up by flippers or speculators, but it will reach that point? Like, what's that land outside of Manhattan? And Manhattan's all their rookie cards. So like, what's that Brooklyn territory of their cards, where once these prices take off, at least I'm buying in at such a low price that the downside is very minimal. So I like that. That's why I was going with the second-year cards. And like I was getting Zions as well, just really cheap lately. But that's for another conversation. But I like that thought process.
Let's talk about it.
What's that?
So let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, dude, on ComC, I was buying all these Zion Mosaic, and I saw a question here about Mosaic football, which I think is going to be really big, just based on the popularity of the basketball set as like the COVID baby. Like Mosaic was like the COVID baby set, and it just was like that was the set that released during this lockdown and kind of spurred everything. But right now, it's like I'll buy the Zion Mosaic insert rookie card, which was like had sales up to about $35, but I bought for $8 a piece. So I mean, it was like, okay, I'll buy it at that price because when the hype returns, if I can get 16 from it, I'll be good with that. But I'm definitely excited about Mosaic. Another set would be Donruss though, and Donruss is going to have those inserts, and they look great. We've seen the success with the inserts, the Marvel inserts on the basketball. And so now I think that's going to be a very interesting set to look out for, even without the rookies, just like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And I don't know if Tom Brady's going to be in there as well as a Marvel. I'm sure he is.
But they got the insert, or they have the what do you call it? Basically like the special peaks. They have some of those optics that are in there. Those are, man, that product is going to be hot for a little while for sure. With the burrows and all that optic, like, and they're doing it just like they did, like, just releasing some of the optic in the Donruss. It's going to be a sick set. It's going to be hard to get a hold of.
Dude, for sure.
Retail.
Oh yeah.
You know, what about fantasy? What do you can we talk about some lineups real quick, or is that should we stick to the cards? I don't know.
Go for it, man.
Fantasy.
I got plenty more cake to eat, so y'all just go ahead.
Well, I just want to see, like, all right, so I'm in a 10-man league. We tried to get to 12 this year, but didn't work out, COVID and all that. But I wanted to see what you guys if you guys are in any leagues and kind of what you're. So first of all, for me, sleeper app, man, I'll never go back to another app. That's like my favorite one to play on now. It's pretty cool when you're picking up on the lineup. It shows you everybody's pick, like squares all the way down, so you can see who picked what all the way down. So it's pretty cool. But what do you guys do?
He did that live on his station.
Yeah. No,
really?
it's funny you mentioned that, boys. Yeah. I did a 12-team and got Brad in. This is his first year playing fantasy, and we did it on Sleeper. It's cool. I did it through StreamYard, did a live draft. Actually, Dustin hopped on the live stream, and he was like, "Oh, he thought we were talking football cards, and it was a fantasy draft." But, and we all thought Brad was going to take Tom Brady #1.
I've never done fantasy before, so I was just like, whatever the app suggested, I would just go with. I ended up picking 3 quarterbacks because my mentality was still in sports cards. So I'm like, well, quarterbacks are worth more.
My gosh.
In my portfolio, I can have like 15 quarterbacks. Well, on fantasy, I guess you can only start 1, but that's where the mindset didn't really correlate over. And at the end of it, I was like, you know what? I like the idea of fantasy going to cards because it's a lot of different strategy, medium term and long term, and financial ROI. I do not understand going from cards to fantasy.
Yeah.
You either start from fantasy, go to cards, but if you start at cards, just go in on cards. That's my take, at least. I've
got mine tomorrow night, and it's a 10-man league. It's PPR. You know who I'm kind of curious to hear from you guys as Bucks fans. I'll tell you who I'm not picking are Bucks receivers. And the reason why is because Tom Brady's going to spread the ball around. And, I think he's going to throw the ball out to Scotty Miller. I think he likes that. Isn't he a slot receiver?
Mm-hmm. He is.
That's his that could be his Edelman. That could be his Wes Welker. So Mike Evans, Godwin, those guys. I don't know if their stats are going to be what they were in previous years, and they're probably not going to care because they just want to win games. But I know that and it's kind of the same with Saints receivers. I have a hard time picking them because a lot of times Breeze is throwing to 7 different guys. So it's like, it's just not a good pickup. So I'm not going to pick up any Bucks receivers, I don't think. Do you guys, are you high on Bucks receivers, or what are your thoughts?
1 Bucks receiver.
Which one? Godwin?
There's like 9 of them.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Godwin plays out of the slot a lot as well. And Arians loves to run 3 wide receiver sets. So he's going to be out there on the field.
I think the tough part for me is because we haven't seen Brady play with any of these guys. You don't know who he's going to play favorites with. You don't know like who he's going to have that continuity with. It might be Godwin. He might have it with Mike Evans. He might have it with Scotty Miller, whatever.
Oh yeah, everybody's comparing Evans to Randy Moss. Like, Evans could have the Randy Moss Brady season.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's going to be throwing down the seam to Gronk because that's what he's used to doing.
Well, I was thinking Gronk might be the guy that bails him out the first 6 weeks of the year until he gets accustomed to all the wide receivers. But from an investment standpoint, the wide receivers were great earlier on, and now the Evans and Godwins have gone through the roof on price to the point where I'm like, how you're not going to throw for 450 yards a game, 100 to Gronk, 100 to Godwin, 100 to Evans. You're not going to have like 6 touchdowns per game passing, because at a certain point you're just going to run the ball. Now their running attack looks better and better. So from fantasy, I think it correlates quite well with the cards, where I'm happy to sell at the profit, but I don't know if these guys can put up numbers to justify the prices, because there are so many targets, there are so many ways to go around, and if they have a good running game, now all of a sudden, a 70-yard game by Evans or Godwin and 1 score, that could be pretty damn good for the Bucs to win 30 to 10. So
is Chris Godwin pricey?
Yeah, brother. His Prism rookie card rolls like $75. It's crazy.
What's his optic? I have the optic.
I think on ComC it's like 30.
Yeah, optic's 30? About $20 on ComC, and optic's about $20. I got about 14 of them for about $2 to $3 back in March when Brady signed, and now the cheapest one's probably $18 on ComC. But yeah, I mean it's a good amount for a wide receiver.
It's basically whoever ended 2019 season the best has got pretty much the highest card prices, now going in, plus the offseason moves, but those guys have got the best.
Well, and what's going to happen. There's going to be guys that break out that no one is anticipating, and then everyone's going to rush. It's going to be a scramble on eBay to get to those guys. If they have a random receiver has a 3-touchdown game, just like you do in fantasy football, where you don't have him on, you go and nobody drafted him, and then you're going to try to pick him up, and it'll be like, I hope it is, because that'll make it a lot of fun.
And that's part of the reason why I've diversified so much, is because I can get the top 50 ranking wide receivers for their Prism or their Premier rookie card for $5 each, and it's like, why not? I'm going to hit on at least, plus I think the hobby as a whole, as it grows, that base price is going to just go up in general. But
too, with football, this is going to happen too, where guys are going to get injured. Oh, nice.
The optic.
Perfectly centered.
Nice.
Perfectly.
Surprised that's not already a PSA.
Yeah, dude, you're missing out, man.
This was the one that I actually got in today. It's an Origins jersey patch out of
$199?
$199. I got this for $12.50. Like friggin' jumbo. And the guy had it listed on Beckett for out of 99, and he felt so bad that he gave it to me for free. He refunded.
I need that strategy.
Cents and still sent it to me. Isn't that incredible?
That's awesome, man.
Let me grab all my Bucs cards. Oh wait. Oh, I forgot to bring those. Sorry, guys.
All right, guys. Well, before we sign off, it's been about an hour and a half. I want to ask you guys final score of the Sunday game, Bucs versus Saints. I'll go with Dustin. I'll go with you first, just because I have a feeling you're going to pick the Saints as the winner.
I think honestly, I don't feel great about the game. I really don't. I mean, I think that, like I said earlier, I think that they're a juggernaut. I think that the only thing that can hurt the Bucs is just continuity. If there's one thing that I think the Saints might have, I guess one thing that might be in their favor is that A, it's in the Superdome, even though there's nobody there, but also B, it's the same team that we had last year essentially. So you don't, even though there wasn't the training camp and there wasn't the typical preseason, it's most of the same guys taking the field. Whereas the Bucs are kind of learning how to gel and all that. I'm sure Tom Brady's had them over at his house like every night of the week since he got them. They probably been doing push-ups out in the, whatever, out in the park, whatever the hell.
Well, you know it is Derek Jeter's house that he's staying at, right?
Oh, is it? I thought
it's Derek Jeter's house in Davis Island, which it's Yankees colors. It's like kind of gray, black, dark blue, and it's really long. But he's renting Jeter's house, and so you could see it from South Tampa. You could actually see it from across the water. I waved. Pretty sure he waved back, but I waved anyway. And
I saw something that like, well, weren't people like driving up in their boats and he had to get security or a fence put in or something? Or?
I think he got a permit for like a privacy fence or a privacy wall, which makes
got
sense.
a giant like Gatling gun on the roof.
He just throws footballs. He throws spirals that just knocks people out.
I also heard a story that Tom Brady was trying to go to a coach's house in Tampa, and he went into the wrong person's house. Like, and he just walked into their house. He thought it was like Tom
Byron Leftwich. He was going to go to Byron Leftwich's house, and he like went into some random house.
Can you imagine if Tom Brady just walks into your house? You're like pissed off. You're like, oh, hey, it's Tom Brady. Oh shit!
I can imagine how many South Tampa like desperate housewives are like fantasizing about that being their house.
There's hundreds of desperate housewives just trolling the streets.
You know what they've done? They've actually changed the mailbox to say like Leftwich's house of the Leftwiches, just to get like Tom to like go in there. Okay, so what score do you have?
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Saints never win their home over. That's actually a good point, Jason. They usually let us down. I'm going to say I think it's going to start off slow. It's going to be kind of a weird defensive battle, like 6-3 or something first quarter, and then I'm going to say 41-38. Saints pull it out at the end on a Lutz field goal.
Boris, what do you got?
Field goal.
Wow. Bucks are definitely taking it 100%. I think it's gonna the score is gonna be a little bit closer than that. I'm gonna say 31-28.
Andy?
Bucks.
Dude, well, what's crazy, Brad, is I actually had a dream about this last night.
About Tom Brady. A lot of people have dreams about Tom Brady. It's okay.
No, you were in it, Brad. You were in it.
Was it Andy that was outside of Tom Brady's house? I think it was actually Andy.
We were at the Superdome. All right. There was only 25 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and we were down 17-21. And Tom Brady drops back to pass. Cameron Jordan is hot on him. All right. And Tom Brady lets it go. Mike, I see Dustin on the other side of the field with his hands right, like from his thumbnail, like a lot of his thumbnails, got his hands on his head. And then I see Mike Evans burn past Lattimore, and I see the hobby box. I see Boris in the end zone going, he's open. Brady lets it go. Touchdown. The Bucks win 24-21.
Everyone looks back at Tom in the pocket, and he's laying there with a broken leg.
But we got the W. That's all that matters. Yeah. That was a very vivid dream you had, Andy. Very nice. I'm incredible. Sure about the other dreams that you have along those lines, but that was very vivid.
I'm glad you told the clean dream. Thanks, Andy.
Did you wake up wet at all? Anyway, I'm going to go with the Saints winning this one only because it's going to add fuel to the fire for the Bucks towards the second game they face the Saints. So I'm going to go with Saints 28, Bucks 21. And it's just going to really spark the Bucks to do even better throughout the year. So that's my score. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Where can we everyone knows to find you guys, but what's the station name? Dustin, what's your station? Where can they find you?
The Personal Finance Dad.
And on Instagram as well, right?
Instagram, yeah, same thing. Twitter, it's invest_in_cards is the handle.
And Boris?
I'm the hobby box.
Yeah. In fact, people are like, "Who's Boris?" Hobby box on Instagram, hobby box on YouTube. And are you on Twitter or are you on TikTok or anything?
Oh no, I erased TikTok. I didn't want China spying on me, so I was done with it.
Gotcha.
I'm only on TikTok. Actually, I'm solely on TikTok now. I'm moving it all to TikTok.
And Andy, I know you're on.
TikTok is the spot, man.
Andy, obviously, Fantasy Football Card Quest here on YouTube, Fantasy Football Card Quest on Instagram as well. And then, are you on TikTok still?
Yeah, my phone offloaded the app because I wasn't using it enough, so I got to get it back.
Dude, it's hard doing all these different apps, man. Just stay here on YouTube. We're going to be covering all the sports, all the cards that you want to talk about. Any final words before we kick off Thursday night?
Who dat?
Let's dig in.
There we go. Everyone with their catchphrase. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Go Bucks. Eat your oatmeal. Eat your cake. Eat your cake, as Boris is suggesting. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a great night, y'all.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Stay as long.